Well, good evening and welcome to the West Ham Network. Thank you all for joining me. Yeah, no Anton tonight. He's still babysitting, so I'm sure he's doing things far more important than talking about West Ham and Wolves on this channel. But great of you to join us, and thank you for that. And we've got a couple of special guests on tonight to talk to us about the Wolves game. And then when Matt appears, not the special Matt that we've got, but the usual Matt, I'll bring him on as well because his internet seems to be playing up. But I'm sure he'll join us at some stage down the line. So first off, good evening to you, Dave. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, and thank you for joining us on a Friday
My
evening.
pleasure. Thank you.
I know people usually want to go out and have a beer or whatever, so very grateful for you
No,
to
my
join
pleasure.
us. Tell us a little bit about your channel. I know you've been on to the channel before. There he is. Are you going to stay on because we
I'm
are
I'm,
now
I'm
live?
sorted now. I don't
Oh,
know.
good,
Yeah,
good. You, please don't go anywhere.
I'm sorted.
Dave, tell us a bit about your channel. I know you've been on before, mate, but if you can talk a little bit about your channel.
Yeah. So talking walls, we do sort of similar stuff to what you guys do, really. Match previews, match reviews after the game. We do a video called Fans React where we get the fans on after the games as well to give their thoughts and just little sort of hour-long podcasts every now and then as well. So very similar to the stuff you guys do, but obviously from a Wolves point of view.
Yeah, cool, cool. And it's a pleasure to have you on, mate.
No,
Now,
thank you for
just
having me.
before we bring the next guest on, we'll do a little slideshow for you. Good evening, Matt Jarvis. How are you, mate?
Good evening. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I'm very
Our
well,
pleasure.
thank
We
you.
try and make you feel welcome. Now, I know David's going to have bragging rights on, your career at Wolves over West Ham. I know because looking at the stats there, but I think you had a better time at West Ham, didn't you?
Honestly, it was just great to play for both. Well, yeah, every club that I've played for, but obviously they were my sort of prime years playing at Wolves and West Ham. So it was brilliant to play for both clubs.
Yeah. Well, and it's a pleasure to have you on here, and it's great. We always have an opposition fan for the preview because it gives it a different feel. Where because we're not experts on Wolves, so Dave, we're going to be looking to you, mate, to tell us all about Wolves. But let's go into the game, tomorrow's game. Wolves are eighth in the league. You've had 5 wins, 5 defeats, and a draw. You didn't start off very well, did you, in this season? But you kind of got better over the past few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, our start to the season was quite difficult anyway. We had Leicester, Spurs, Manchester United, so three pretty tough games when
Oh,
you
they're
look at
the
it at the
easy
start of the
games, aren't they,
season.
Matt?
Yeah, but you could argue that those three games are actually where Wolves have played their best football this season. It's almost as if we went into those three games with like no fear, almost thinking we haven't really got anything to lose, and we attacked against those three teams, and we should have come out with at least a win from those first three. So to go into the first international break with absolutely nothing was a bit of a travesty. But we've sort of grinded out some results recently. Some of the games, such as the Leeds game where we dropped points and the Palace game more recently, I think those were two games on paper you look at and think Wolves probably should be doing better in. But we're in an okay position. Could be a lot better, but at the same time, could be a lot worse, especially under a new manager.
I was going to ask you about that. Were you guys upset that Nuno left? Was it a shock to you guys, or did you see it coming? What was the
Um,
feeling at the time?
it was a little bit 50-50, especially sort of from, I'd say, about the halfway point of last season. Football started to get a little bit more negative, obviously, because the fans weren't in the stadiums. It was difficult to tell, behind a television screen what what the mood and so on was like. But from what I saw on social media, it was very 50-50 between sort of Nuno in or Nuno out. Personally, I was very surprised when the news came out. I didn't think he would go in the summer. But obviously, he went on at the time to, I would say, a much bigger job. Obviously, that hasn't quite gone to plan for him. But when we've brought in Bruno Lage, who seems to have more positive and more attacking ideas. So it's interesting. They've got their similarities in how they manage. Bruno's kept the same sort of shape as Nuno played. Whether he'll come away from that in the future when he's got some more of his own players, I don't know. But at the moment, it hasn't gone as badly as I think possibly some fans were expecting, because at the time he was quite an inexperienced name as well.
Javo, I mean, am I allowed to call you Javo? I'm guessing that's why you
Of
got
course you
it.
can. Yeah.
How do you see it from a sort of like from an inside football point of view? Did you think the Nuno move to Spurs? I mean, it's all hindsight now, of course, but did you think that would have been the right move for that type of manager?
No, honestly not. No, I think what he did at Wolves was nothing short of fantastic. The way he transformed the club, the mentality, the performances, that Europe run that they did was exceptional. I think, like West Ham are doing this season, I think that was what everyone was. West Ham's everyone's second favourite team this year, and I think that was the same for when Wolves were on their season in Europe as well. I think performances wise, you look and they were just a splendid like counter-attacking side. They had so much pace and they used to like soak up all this pressure and then just break and score. And I think that once they sort of finished in Europe, I think Nuno sort of realised quickly that he couldn't play that way. If he was going to, improve the side and get into Europe again. I think so. He tried to change the style of play and the passing and a bit more possession based, and it just never worked.
Do you think that's sort of going against the grain of what he's like as a manager? Because we kind of saw it a little bit at Spurs as well, didn't we? I won't say because he's not a negative manager, or he certainly never came across as one. But do you think that's what he tried to do at Spurs? Do you think he was trying to sort of do the galvanizing first before the flair?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think what he did at Wolves, doing that sort of, it was because of the players that he had on his available, and then when he tried to change it, it didn't quite work within the players. I think he's gone into Spurs where he knew he needed a good start, and I think that they were leaking goals, so he's tried to do what he did at Wolves by keeping everything tight, and then they had the players like Kane and Son to just break with pace and score goals. And he obviously he got manager of the month. I think the first or second month, and then then it's just important performances, not results, yes, but performances as well. And they just didn't meet the expectation levels to be in a club like Spurs, where they want that certain attacking prowess and excitement, and that unfortunately just wasn't going to be Nuno.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Matt, you got a question about how do you pronounce it? Is it Lage?
Yeah, that was about Bruno Lage. Yeah.
Bruno Lage.
What style is he? Obviously, West Ham fans, we don't. Some of us watch all of it, but obviously not of us know all the Premier League. Has he kept the same style? Has he tried to adapt your style? Is he trying to like change it, or is he slowly like how do you see yourselves at the moment? What's your ethos and your identity of the way you play?
It's an interesting one, because obviously when it was announced that Nuno was going, I think Bruno was always going to be the man that was going to replace him. There was rumours about it over 12 months ago that if Nuno were to ever go, Bruno Lage was going to be the man, and you sort of ignored it because at the time Nuno was always going to be the Wolves head coach. So he was always number one choice when Nuno went. And when he was in Portugal with Benfica, he played a 4-4-2, really attacking, and had an unbelievable record. So a lot of Wolves fans were just under the assumption he was going to come to Wolves and switch to a 4-4-2. And he hasn't. He's stuck with pretty much throughout the whole season, bar one game. He's played a 3-4-3, more or less the exact same formation that Nuno was playing for the most part in his Wolves career. Of course, he's changed some things. I think we're a lot more positive and a lot more attacking with it. We play in some games a much higher line as well. And he, like I said earlier, against particular teams, he likes to go at teams as well. So I think it's interesting. I'd like to see him switch eventually. Maybe not mid-season, because I think that would be daft, especially, with his first season in charge of the club. But maybe next summer, when he's had 2 and possibly 3, if you include next summer's transfer windows, to build his own squad, get a good platform in place, and go for it from next season. But at the moment, I'd probably say it's probably about 75, 80, 20 split with fans that are sort of happy with how things are going at the moment. We just need to start turning some of these draws and some of these games where we've dropped points into wins. And, it could have been a lot better. We could have gone, if we beat Palace, I think we would have been top 6, going into the last international break, which would have been fantastic, obviously.
Do you think your turnaround point after a pretty, not a great start, was probably the Spurs game, the 2-2 draw? Do you think maybe that's where things probably started changing? Because I think was it the first 4 or 5 games was it 4 defeats and a draw or a win? I can't recall.
For Wolves, no, we lost the first 3, and then the first game after internationals we played Watford and we beat Watford in the league. I think we played Spurs in the cup when we drew 2-2.
Oh, okay.
And we were dreadful in that game. We just sort of had one attack and it almost sort of changed the game. And we did quite well and went to penalties. And I never back Wolves on a penalty shootout. So we fell out of the cup, but. Yeah, we picked up some good results against teams that you would expect us to beat, really. We beat Southampton, we beat Newcastle. Disappointing ones really have been Brentford at home, where we lost 2-0, and they just frustrated the life out of us because, they got that first goal about 20, 25 minutes in. And this is no disrespect to Brentford, but did all the dark arts, time wasting, this and that.
Sounds like our game,
That was exactly like our game. Yeah.
And then we just fell apart and conceded a second goal. And probably for the last sort of 60 minutes of the game, we were just going at Brentford and we just couldn't break them down. And every time there was a stoppage in play, that was it. Even in the second half, about 10 minutes in, their goalkeeper about to take a free kick, and then he stops the game. And he somehow got a rip across his glove. I was like, that doesn't just accidentally happen.
Yeah, we were actually surprised. We were surprised in our game against them that the goalie didn't get a booking because he used every trick he could to actually waste time. So you're absolutely right. We've all suffered at the hands of Brentford.
So I get it, from their point of view, Brentford, a lot of people probably were expecting them to go straight back down. So they're doing everything they can to sort of grind out results, which I think is fair enough. But Bruno Lage, especially in our away games, I think has taken that game a bit too seriously. I know Palace fans and Leeds fans in particular have said a lot on social media about how we have sort of almost adopted those same sort of tactics, the diving about and time wasting, which I suppose when you're chasing a game or end up dropping points, it's not nice to hear. When you're 1-0 up in the 90th minute, you probably don't mind it as much, but it's just one of those. So I think there's just little parts of Bruno that he still needs to learn about the Premier League, perfect how he wants to approach things, and fingers crossed we can have a successful sort of last 3 quarters of the season.
Jarvo, how do you see Wolves at the moment? I mean, they came up, they're quite solid in the Premier League. To be honest, I thought that Wolves would be the team that would be constantly breaking in top 6. That's I think what West Ham were kind of aspiring to, and I think a lot of West Ham fans were looking at Wolves and going, "That's where we should be. We should be sort of like pushing the way they were." And I mean, how do you see them under the new management now? Do you think that they're going to continue to sort of push up the league, or how do you think it's going to go for them?
I think where they were with Nuno is, I think I saw a comment come up saying he took them as far as he could take them, which to a degree I would agree with that. I think especially with the style of play that they had, I think trying to be that more possession based football, the attacking threat, it comes with like for instance with Leicester, they were that counter attacking team and they won the league, but the following year, they then had to adapt, and then they had to be a bit more creative. And then they had to be on the ball a lot more, and it takes time. And a new manager. I think, as you said, you've got the free hit for the first few games where all the fans are going to be completely on your side anyway. And performances were good. Results weren't, but performances were good. I think now he's coming under just. It's because. Everyone's asking why, Traore's contract situation's up in the air. He's not playing. Jimenez, actually, he sort of, obviously the injury is really difficult to sort of get yourself back in. You're sort of, although you're probably not thinking about it, you're a little bit hesitant with everything that's going on. I think that the goal against Southampton was critical for him, and he seems to be a different player since that goal, Jimenez, which is huge for Wolves because they've just missed him. Whenever he's not played, they don't have that goal scoring threat. And then Wang's come in, and then you've got if he's sort of trying to play with sort of inside wingers rather than outside wingers, which is what Wolves were like with Nuno. They had Traore and Neto on the other side. Neto's been a huge miss for Wolves, but it's just like now roles have reversed. West Ham are that. I would not so much. They are more of a counter-attacking side, but they're more that attacking, fun to watch, entertaining, which is it's flipped from the from where Wolves were, and it's always going to be a difficult season for Wolves. They're in that transitional period, and I think the fans expected it not to be as successful as it has been in the past, but you always want to do well and at least get in the top half of the table.
Well, let's move on to the game and let's look at what happened last time that the two clubs met. Now, I won't lie. When we went up there and we took a storming lead, I don't know what you thought, Matt, but I still didn't think that we were going to be that safe, because Wolves are not the sort of team that are going to lie down and sort of get a battering like that. Because at that point, I think we were 3-0 up. It felt like this doesn't feel right. This is against Wolves, and you did come back storming. And I just wonder. I'm trying to remember the tail end of that game. And I just wonder if there was another 5 or 10 minutes left, you might have maybe snatched another goal in that game.
I'm sure there was like a chance for it might have been a defender, like right on like the full-time whistle for a header.
Mm-hmm.
And like you thought that was going to go in, it would finish 3-3. I think that was the period when we were going like, was it 3 games in a row? We went almost 3-0 up in the half time.
That's right. Yeah.
2 of them we won, 1 of them we drew. It was the Arsenal game. So
yeah, well, it was the Arsenal game that gave us the shivers, because we knew what happened with that one, and we were kind of thinking it could happen again. I mean, Dave, I'm sure you recall the game. What were your thoughts of the game at the time?
Well, both games against West Ham last season were disastrous. Obviously, you guys smashed us. I think it was 4-0, wasn't it, at the London Stadium earlier in the season?
We didn't want to mention that one.
Yeah. And then obviously the 3-2 defeat was disappointing, really. I think, like Matt Jarvis mentioned earlier about Jimenez, this season he's only missed the 1 game, Jimenez, and we were lost without him. And all of the second half of last season, we had to rely a lot on Fabio Silva, who obviously wasn't ready. We brought Willian Jose back in, and he was nowhere near good enough either. So, that game especially, I just remember watching them all go in, and like you say, I was there like, what's going on here? Like, how have we let it happen? And the Lingard goal especially, I spoke to a West Ham fan about it this week, and he was like, oh, what a goal that was. And from a West Ham point of view, I get it, but the Wolves defending was absolutely atrocious. I can't understand how we let him run that length of the pitch and finish it off. And then Adama got going, got an unbelievable assist that game. I think it was for Dendoncker. I think Fabio Silva actually scored the second goal, but
he did, yes, yeah.
A lot of that season for me last season is a bit of a blur. Anyway, I try and forget as much of it as I can, to be fair, from a Wolves point of view. But yeah, West Ham were a very difficult team for us to play last season. Obviously, you guys got the 6 points against us.
Let's look at the lineup that you had back then, and it kind of, with the new manager in, he's made a few changes, hasn't he? So you had a like a 4-2. It's what we play, West Ham play at the moment,
yeah,
which is a 4-2-3-1 formation. And when you compare that to your last lineup against Palace, you've gone for a 3-4-2-1. Is that how you believe Large A will go? Because it's a few name changes, a few different players there. Obviously, the keeper is a change, and a few at the back, etc. But do you think it's going to be more the sort of the 3-4-2-1 formation?
It's going to be more like the team on the right there. Like I said, Nuno tried to experiment with a back 4 last season, and like obviously West Ham was one of those games, and it just didn't work out. But this has pretty much been the formation that Large has stuck with, and it wouldn't surprise me to see that lineup that's on the screen as the team that starts tomorrow as well. There might be 1 or 2 changes depending on how the players have come back from the international break. But it'll definitely be that shape, and pretty much I'm fairly sure most of those players are going to start tomorrow as well.
You think
Java,
Jimenez?
sorry, mate. Go on.
I was going to say he might struggle to play.
Yeah,
considering he played, what was it, 180 minutes, and he's probably only just got
came
back yesterday or today.
Yeah. I know Large had commented on it, and I saw one of the local journalists say, from what he said, he thinks he should start, but the last time it did happen was against Villa and he didn't start. But at the same time,
so who would come in his place then if Jimenez wasn't likely to start?
The most logical replacement would be Fabio Silva, but I don't think it would be. When against Villa, when we played them after the international break, he switched the formation to a 3-5-2, and he had Hwang and Adama up front, and it was disastrous. It didn't work whatsoever. So if it were me, I would stick with the same formation. I would want to see Fabio Silva, but if he changed it, I'd say he'd put Hwang through the middle as the number 9, start Trincao, Adama, or Podence. 2 of those as the 2 of those 3 as the 2 wide players there. But I'm hoping
Java,
that Jimenez starts.
Java, that's what you said, isn't it, about having the sort of like the inside wingers kind of formation. So do you agree with that? That's kind of the formation that.
Yeah, 100%. That'll be the formation. Yeah, I can't see it any other way. The way it would change if like I said, if there's any injuries or anything that the potential players can't play from the international break. But it'll be a real shame for the game if Jimenez isn't able to play. I think it just, it completely changes the way that Wolves play, but also the game itself. I think it would be a shame if he doesn't play.
So sorry, go on, mate.
I was going to say, I obviously we're all we don't know about this, but what's actually going on with Traore? Like, I've seen snippets in the news about like a falling out, and there's a contract stalling, and there's something in the comments this week from the manager about his work ethic off the ball. Like, is there an argument there? Or is he just not getting on board? Like, I remember back to Project Restart, he was like one of the most informed players in the league, and everyone was after him, and now he's like essentially wasting away on the bench. Like,
yeah, it's such a weird situation with him, because like you said, that season with the that had lockdown, throughout all of that season he was on fire. And I think even after lockdown, like you said, I think we played you second game or first game back after the restart, and he was fantastic in that match. I think he got 1 or 2 assists. And then last season he was really, really poor. I think he grabbed just probably 1 goal contribution all season in the Premier League. So they went from that summer after the restart asking for about £80 million for him, and then from last season it's just gone downhill. And now he's still got 18 months left on his contract, but it sounds like he thinks he should be on over 100 grand a week, and it sounds like Bruno Lage thinks you ain't worth 100 grand a week. So it's frustrating as a Wolves fan. I like to defend him, and I watch him play, and he can be one of the most entertaining players in the league, no doubt about it. But when things aren't going his way, like you've just mentioned there, off the ball, he just stands and watches. His work rate off the ball is poor.
It's really intriguing, Dave, because a lot of West Ham fans, we keep talking about who do we want as an alternative to Antonio, and Traore's name keeps being mentioned. And I mean, I'm not one that subscribes to that. I don't get it. I think they're quite different players. But a lot of West Ham fans will say, "Oh well, he can be the way Antonio's been transformed by Moyes." People think that Traore could be the same. And Java, do you think that's even remotely possible, or they're very different players, aren't they?
They are very different players. I think, Antonio, what he's got is he's played in so many different positions and done extremely well in them, and his work rate for the team is phenomenal. He runs channels, he holds balls up, he brings people into play. He's now scoring goals. He's just, if he doesn't play for West Ham, the whole team just doesn't work right. It just doesn't work. The team doesn't play the same way because it can't hit the ball. If they're struggling, they hit the channel, and Antonio will make the run. He can occupy 3 players. Traore, for me, he could do that, but I don't see him being that centre forward. He's he's at his best when he's on the wing and he gets the ball. He's faced up a fullback or potentially two players, and he can have that run, knock it out of his feet, and cause carnage. He suffered massively last season because Jimenez didn't play hugely, because I feel like he felt like if he didn't do anything, the team wasn't going to score. So he tried to do everything himself, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And when it didn't, it wasn't great, and that's why everyone picked up on, oh, he's not having a good season, he's not doing that. But he was trying to hold off three players, he was taking five players on, and then at the end of it, he was trying to have a shot, or he knocked it out of play because he was trying too hard, because there was nothing else on for Wolves at the time. There was no one else that you could give the ball to that was going to create that opportunity. So that's why he suffered. But as going back to your question, I think he would be very different to Antonio in that system. And I think Moyes, you would have to do his magic like he's done on a few players.
Yeah, and he's done more magic than we ever expected him to have done so. But we'll talk about West Ham later. Dave, who would be the given that we're talking about players at the moment, who would be the player that you think West Ham should be looking out for tomorrow? Obviously, if Jimenez was playing, maybe you'd have mentioned him if he does play. But who else do we look out for tomorrow? What are going to be the danger players especially against the formation that we play, which is a 4-2-3-1, which is what you guys did last season?
Yeah, I mean, Jimenez would have probably been the one that I would have mentioned. Other than that, I'd probably say Hwang Ki-chan. I think he's our top goal scorer at the moment. It's strange with Hwang at the moment, though, because I look at his overall game and I'm not a million % impressed with it, if I'm completely honest. But when he's in and around the area, I've not seen anyone as dangerous as him in front of goal at the moment. It's almost, him and Jimenez at times this season. It's like what we saw with Jota and Jimenez, before he left to join Liverpool. It's the same sort of combinations of play and so on. But in and around the area, if you give him the ball within the box, Hwang is putting it into the back of the net.
He's had four. I've read he's had 4 chances and he scored 4 goals, or 4 shots on target, something like that.
And he had one chalked off against Everton when he was flagged offside in the end. But he just seemed lethal at the moment in and around the area. Against Newcastle, I think Jimenez set him up twice, just for 2 chances throughout the whole game, difficult angles, and put both of them into the back of the net. So at the moment, yeah, he's lethal. I think he's quick as well. He can run at defenders. There's just been the odd game, if we ignore the Newcastle game, I think he did quite well against Everton. The Villa game especially, he was just non-existent. He actually, one of his errors led to one of the Villa goals. So I'm still not 1,000,000% sure on him as of yet. But I think West Ham do have to be careful. If the ball falls in and around the area to Hwang, there's a chance it's going to end up in the back of the net.
Would you agree, Jarvo, or are there any other players that West Ham should be looking out for tomorrow?
No, I would definitely say that Hwang's the standout. Even with Jimenez, I think he's your typical, I would say your Wolves player. Works hard for the team. He whatever position he plays in, if he's playing in behind Jimenez, he will still chase fullbacks all the way back. He will do all of the dirty work for the team, but as he said, as Dave said, he's got a good eye for a goal. He's technically quite good. He'll hold up play, and he's got quite a good link-up play now with Jimenez, because I think that was what was missing with Wolves. They had no sort of striker as such with Jimenez. It was always Jimenez on his own. Now they've got that sort of pairing that's quite effective, and you can see that their link-up plays starting to come together. So I would say they would be your 2 sort of standout ones to watch in the Wolves side.
Right. Before we let you go, Dave, it's prediction time. What do you think is going to be the result tomorrow?
See, I'm normally very, very positive in Wolves' favour, but I think I had Luke on our channel. Obviously, Luke that comes with you boys every now and then, and he was waxing lyrical about West Ham, and it got me a little bit worried, if I'm honest.
Oh, he gets us worried as well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Too confident.
Yeah, it sounds like he's got a statue of Moyes being built in his back garden or something. I think, Luke. But I normally go with a 2-1 Wolves win, but I think after Luke's comments, I'm gonna sit on the fence. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw, and I think a lot of Wolves fans would take a 1-1 draw tomorrow.
Cool. I mean, we're going to get to everyone else giving predictions later on in the show. But Dave, as usual, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, mate.
No,
And
thank you for having me, guys.
if you're going to the game tomorrow, I'll be there in some pub nearby. So if you see me, you can ignore me. But much appreciated, mate.
No problem, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll catch you
You
soon.
too. Thank you, mate.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, mate.
Jarvo, before we go on to West Ham, we've got to speak to you about your career and everything. And you know, you've played for both teams. You've had, you know, as you said, it was the prime of your. Well, I don't want to say like that way, like, because you look. Someone in the chat said you still look like you're ready to go out on the pitch tomorrow. But you know,
I would
prime
love
of your
to. God.
career. I mean, you've got memories of both, I guess, at both Wolves and West Ham. Let's start with Wolves first. What are your memories of? What are the best memories of Wolves at the time that you were there?
Promotion, winning the championship was a huge achievement at the time, and there's nothing better than winning trophies. So that was an incredible experience with the group of players that was there at the time as well. No one had really sort of played in the Premier League, so we all had that hunger and appetite to go and prove people wrong. So that was an amazing achievement. And to be honest, being at a club like Wolves at the time in the Premier League, making my debut, I suppose, and only appearance for England, it was just an incredible achievement.
And do you remember who you debuted against?
I remember that game, that's for sure.
That was your debut against West Ham in the Premier League, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It didn't start so well, did it? No, and then obviously, playing in the Premier League for 3 years was fantastic, and playing for England as well. Being the first player since Steve Ball at that club to play for England was an incredible achievement personally for myself, and great memories. Had a really good rapport with the fans, because that was my sort of role in the team, isn't it? To run up the line, excitement, put crosses in, score goals. That was the whole thing.
And then West Ham United came knocking on the door, and I mean, for a team that had only just been promoted back into the Premier League, did you feel kind of a little bit apprehensive about coming to a club like West Ham, or what did Sam Allardyce sell to you at the time, to sort of get you hooked?
Absolutely nothing. I don't think I spoke to him really before I signed, as much as it was I knew well, actually I don't think I did, to be honest, knew the size of the club until I'd signed. I knew obviously it was a huge club, London, the history. There was never one second that I thought that as soon as I knew that they're interested, that if I went there, that they were going to be fighting relegation, if that makes any sense. I know it's only a team that gets promoted to the Premier League in their first season. You're always thinking, just safe, staying up is their main thing. There was none of that for me. It did not even come across my mind. So it was a great group of players.
I've read the
fantastic characters.
Yeah, you made comment about some of the players when you were interviewed by the club. I think about a year or so ago, and you talked a lot about certain players in the group at the time. Kevin Nolan, Ginger.
You look at them three there,
yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like it felt like a the way you talk about the camaraderie in the squad, it sounded like a very closely bonded unit at the time.
It's 100% was, and that is down to obviously the manager to bring the players in, but it was the characters in the dressing room. Kevin Nolan was huge for that. He was a great captain. Obviously, Nobes has learnt from the best and carried on. with his phenomenal record. But it was just a really good close group of players. A lot of players that have been there and done it as well, and knew what they had to do and what you had to do. I think you'd know that people would just run through brick walls for you.
Yeah.
And that means a lot when you're playing in a game.
Well, it puts a smile on
and-
your
and-
face as well, doesn't it? When you know that you've
Yeah,
got
well-
people who've got your back, so to speak, which is fantastic.
I mean, funny enough, I listened to a podcast that Ginger was on earlier, and he's the prime example. He would do anything for you on that pitch. I mean, and off it, to be honest. But it was just them sort of characters that you needed, and that was what the whole dressing room was like. Constantly, we're working hard on the training pitch, but obviously team morale was great when you could go out as a squad as well. So it was a really, really good changing room.
And Howard wants to know who was the funniest in the dressing room at the time.
There's loads. Honestly, the banter that used to fly around was incredible. Loads of people be involved in it. It wasn't just one. You had Tonks, Jack Collison was always in there. Obviously, Nobes would be involved. The list would go on. Honestly, it was a really good, enjoyable time to go into training. I think that was what it was like.
And you read about what's going on at the club at the moment. Sorry, Matt, if I know I'm asking loads of questions, so mate, just tell me to shut up. You read about what's going on at the club at the moment, and everyone's talking about, the closeness, the togetherness. Do you get a sense that it was something like that back then? Is that the feeling that you get of what's going on at West Ham at the moment?
That's exactly how I look at it. And I think, I know what the morale and everything was like when I was there, and you can just see now from when anyone scores a goal or anything's happening on the pitch, the whole team goes and celebrates. You can see everyone on the bench they're all sort of pulling in the same direction, and that's compliment to the players, but also to David Moyes, because he's managing to keep everyone happy. When if you're not playing, it's hard to keep morale up, but you can see how much it means to the players that are in the squad that the team's still doing well, and that's a huge factor.
And then, of course, you've got Kevin Nolan in the background as well, so he's brought that spirit with him. Yeah.
What a guy Kev is. Yeah, he was so good in the sense that any problems that any player had, you'd go and see him about it, and whether it was anything to do with him or it wasn't, he would go and fight your corner with anyone, whether that would be Sam, whether that would be Hire. He would go and give it his everything in it, and he usually pulled it off.
I don't know if you knew at the time, but at that time for West Ham, it was suggested it was the record transfer fee for West Ham when we signed you. Were you aware of that at the time? Were you aware that you
only
were
when
I
signed?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I signed, that got made apparent to me quite regularly. Yeah.
By internally or by the fans on the terraces, or both?
Majority of it outside of football, yes.
Right. Does that? I mean, you hear an awful lot about when players come with a big price tag, etc. Sometimes it can sort of put pressure on them, unnecessary pressure or unwanted pressure. Did you feel that at all, or did that not sort of play on your mind at all?
I would be lying if I said that it didn't come with pressure. 100% it does, because you're signing for a huge club for the club record fee, so the expectation level is already massive. But in regards to myself, I put more pressure on myself than anyone ever could. So, the added little bit was something that you just have to deal with. I always gave my all. I gave it absolutely everything, and that's the best that I could possibly do. And I couldn't look back and say, if I tried a bit harder, if I did that or did that. I gave it absolutely everything, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
So, of the two clubs, I mean, I'm going to put you right under pressure now. Irish Tommy wants to know, where do you think West Ham and Wolves will finish this season? I I mean, given, I mean, we've spoken quite a bit with Dave about West Ham. How do you see each of these teams' seasons leveling, progressing out?
For me, I'll start with West Ham because I think that depending on how well or how far West Ham could go, which it could be extremely far in the Europa League, then it goes down to keeping players fit. And if they can manage the players like they have been so far, Ogbona's the first sort of injury that's going to be costly for me. I think they've got a huge chance of making a minimum top six for sure. They've got such a good team spirit at the moment. It's such a impressive style of play. I think you can see everyone's playing their best football, which is only yes, not everyone's going to play at their best level every week, but at the moment, you've got 8-9 players playing at their best every single week, and you look at games that you think, oh, that could be, they could struggle there, and then next thing they're 3-0, 4-0, 2.
Yeah,
they're just blowing teams away.
Yeah, we are, but we're all expecting that
impressive.
bubble to burst.
I know. That's unfortunately that's West Ham, isn't it? That's what you're always thinking. Oh no, it's going to go wrong. But at the moment, you could have said that a few weeks ago. Think, oh, that's a tough game. That the bubble could burst, and no, they just keep going and keep going. And I think that's the biggest thing that Moyes has done to the team is the confidence in they're going to win or going to score a goal. If you can keep Antonio is the big one. If you can keep him fit, because he makes the team tick. And if you can keep him fit, and you can do really well in the Europa League, and the position you could easily get in the top six in the Premier League. I think Wolves, it's more of a struggle. I think it's such a difficult year for them with everything that's gone on with Nuno, to then new manager coming in, to Jimenez just sort of getting back into it. Traore's contract situation or whatever it is that he's not really featuring. I think for me personally, if you were at Wolves, I would have Jimenez, Traore and Wang up front and keep Wang and Traore maybe slightly wider, because that's a huge threat, them three, to any team. That's pace, it's power, and goal scoring in all three of them to a degree. But it just doesn't seem to. It's not seeming to be quite right there at the moment. And performances haven't been great, and that's always a worry.
You've said they seem to be sort of going through a transition period, and kind of what we've seen at West Ham as well. When Moyes came in second time round, people were questioning his tactics, formation, why we're sitting back, etc. But you kind of see now, a year and a half later, you see why. Because he had to build that foundation in order to get us playing in the way that we're now playing. But I think, do you think sometimes maybe fans become a little bit impatient? Are we in this world now where you want the results to happen now? There isn't that time to wait.
No, that 100%. That's not just fans. That's everyone. You see a new manager come in. Okay, why are they not winning? New managers come in. Everything should be back to winning games. It's nowhere near as simple. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes. That tactically positioning. There's politics that goes on. There's so many different things that you come up against, and it takes time. It takes time. But unfortunately, losing games or winning games is ultimately how you keep yourself in a job or you're out of a job. So, and if you start badly and it doesn't recover, then you're like Nuno and you're out.
Which is weird. I think he was doing well there, but I mean, Irish Tommy said earlier, he thought he took him as far as he can go. There's a lot of people want to ask you questions in the chat, so do you mind if we get onto a few of those? Scott, good evening, Scott. How are you, mate? Question for Jarvo: if Lingard comes in January, who would you drop out? There's this thing with us. See, when we're asked that question, we say it's a squad thing, but other people go, well, who's going to drop out? How do you see that playing out if that happened?
That's a really difficult one, because you look at Benrahma would be the person that would come out, but he's had his opportunity because of Lingard left, and he's
Yeah.
taken it.
Yeah.
He's taken it, and he's playing extremely well. You can see he's got bundles of talent and trickery, and he's playing his best football now. So you can't take him out. You can't take him out. Jesse Lingard coming in would be a great signing, but he would have to. It would be real. It would be. I would be absolutely gutted if I was any of them players that
Well,
having to come out of that team.
Go
we
on, Matt.
just- the thing, and I tried to talk to someone about this earlier, and everyone seems to keep forgetting. You've got the African Cup of Nations in January, so Ben Rama is going to be off on a plane somewhere, and Lingard could walk straight in and take his spot again
He
if he was
could.
to come in.
No, you're spot on. Actually, yeah, that is very true, very true. And the thing is, you're only one injury to any of them three, and it makes Dave Moyes has then got an easy decision. But yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very well played.
Do you see him perhaps also maybe when you need to give Antonio a rest? I know you just talked about Antonio and how he makes the whole team tick. Do you think that having Lingard there could give Moyes the option of doing that false number 9, or do you not really buy that?
I don't, because I've seen it a few times, even when Lingard was there, when Antonio either came off injured or sort of came off in the game, and it never worked. For me, it never worked. I don't think West Ham, because it just, everything sort of changes, because they then have to do the short passes to get up the pitch, and it just didn't work. It might work now, it might do, but for me, I just think that the way that the team plays, it's because Antonio stretches the pitch so far that it gives them the license to then open up them spaces for Fennells, Bowen and Lingard or Benrahma to come into them pockets of space. When they're not there, they've got no one, so all the other defenders just squeeze up the pitch, and then there's no space, and then no one can run in behind.
We don't want Antonio to run anymore. I don't know if you saw his goal in his second goal for Jamaica. All we want him to do from now on is get the ball at the halfway line and smash it. So,
I think didn't he put out something? That's the first goal he scored outside the box for a long time.
It is the first time. He's scored all his goals in the box, hasn't he, for us, Matt? I think all his goals.
He's never scored outside the box. Yeah. In the Premier League, yeah.
So we might see a long yarder at the weekend potentially.
Probably in Rosette again, as usual.
Goes in Rosette. Budgie wants to ask. We know you've just retired from playing. Is that correct? Yeah. So what's your next step for Matt Jarvis? Football management, or do you want to stay in football, or have you already got something lined up, or is that all hush hush at the moment?
Well, at the moment, it wouldn't be management, no. No, I've done my coaching badges, but I really don't think that I would want to be a manager. I'm really enjoying doing the other side, staying involved in football. I'm doing the punditry side, so I've been doing quite a bit of work on that, which I really enjoy, because it keeps me involved in the game. And you can talk about the good old days, so it's quite good. But I can't see myself being a manager, if I'm completely honest.
But maybe a coaching role in the future, something like that, after your coaching badge.
But potentially, I think for me, I sort of needed that time to not be involved in it, because I've just retired. I feel that if I went straight into coaching, I'd be like, actually, I might as well just carry on playing.
Yeah. Bit like when Glenn Hoddle managed England and thought he was still better than all of them, which he probably was.
Yeah, probably was. Yeah.
I've got a question from Steve. What did you think of Avram Grant?
I wasn't there with Avram. So
I didn't think so. Yeah.
No, it was before.
Comment.
So sorry, Steve, we're not asking that question, mate.
No.
But Kieran's got an even more interesting question. Was the chicken dance the worst celebration you've ever seen?
No, definitely not. That was iconic. I think all the West Ham fans loved that.
Well, we found it mildly amusing. Scott wants to know, and when it gets to this hour, people start getting a bit nutty with their questions. As a pro, how often would you treat yourself to an Indian? Scott's a chef, by the way, so it's a question for him that he wants to know. How often would you treat yourself to an Indian or a Chinese takeaway?
See, now that depends on the player. For me personally, I tried to be very good with my diet, with my lifestyle. So for me, I would probably, if I was going to have one, it would be after the game on Saturday, because you can sort of pretty much eat whatever you wanted because you've just burnt whatever off in the game. So if I was going to, it would be on a Saturday night, and I would be more the Chinese takeaway if I was going to do either or.
There you go, Scott. Now you know what you can prepare for Matt Jarvis when he comes around for dinner. Dabs wants to know your favourite West Ham player at the moment.
Oh, that is difficult. I mean, they're all playing really well. I think the standout one for me personally would probably be Declan Rice at this point. I think he's shown what a great player he is and what potential he's got to keep going. I think he showed leadership. I think he's everywhere on the pitch when he needs to be, and he's so mature in the performances that he's putting in. I think, I would probably say that I've been most impressed with is Declan Rice. I have to throw in, because I'm a big fan of Bowen as well. I think his work rate and what he's done to the team has been really great. But Declan
Should
Rice
he get an
probably,
England call up, Matt? I mean, I it's really interesting. In the last international break, so many England players were dropping out of the squad, and I genuinely thought that Bowen would have got a call up, but it seems not. Is he the sort of player that will fit into this type of England team, or is he the sort of player that just will never get a look in?
I don't know. I think performance-wise for him, he's been great this season. Unfortunately, if you look at the England team at the moment, it's full of fantastic players. So it's really difficult to sort of barge your way in. But 100%, he's performing well week in, week out, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah. How much of the fact that your parents being English table tennis internationals spur you on? Now, someone's done their homework.
Someone has done their homework. Yes.
That's from Daniela, by the way.
They were a huge part of obviously me being a kid and growing up. Influence. They used to, obviously didn't push me into table tennis, but just having that work ethic. I think being involved in sport, the dedication. I think not just mentally, but actually, for instance, every day of the week when I was a kid, in school, I was doing something, whether it was football, swimming, athletics, cross country, whatever it was, and they had to take me here. A lot of the time, there was two of them. During the week on a Saturday, I used to play football in the morning, athletics in the afternoon, and swimming in the evening. Same on a Sunday. So the dedication from my parents to take me to all of these things, basically be the taxi drivers and take me here, there, and everywhere, was huge, and they had a massive role in that. And they went every single game throughout my whole career.
Was football always going to be the choice for you from a very early age, with all the different stuff that you were doing?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved everything. I loved the competing. I think the challenge of competing against other people. I loved. To be honest, football was always going to be the one. But I loved the individual sports because it was me against someone else, and I really thrived on that. But it was always going to be football. I loved the training and the competing and everything, and it was only up until you sort of, my cross country coach said, "Excuse me, you're not a cross country runner anymore. You've got calves and quads, and you need to." I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right now. I think I need to sort of knock that on the head and carry on just playing football."
Irish Tommy wants to know if you could have played for any one team in the world, what would have been your dream team? I know you already have because it was West Ham, but I mean, if it was another team.
Exactly. To be honest, I've never actually thought about playing anywhere else in the Premier League. I know that might sound weird, or even when I sort of got older and people start going off here, there, and everywhere, I've always wanted to stay in the Premier League because for me it's the best league in the world. So as I said, I've lived my dream. I can honestly say that I've played in the Premier League for 8-9 seasons, and
Can't get
it's
much
been
better than that.
perfect. No,
And this next question is I was going to ask you at the end is what's your favourite memory of playing for West Ham? And Steve's one is clearly, I mean, probably all of
I
ours
mean there
really.
is exactly, yeah. I think if you're going to score a goal against anyone, it has to be against them, and in that game, you can it's just such an amazing memory. I think it was right in front of the away fans, which was the West Ham fans. It was a huge win, and you were just right in amongst it with the crowd. And
What I like
great
about this
feeling.
photo, Jarvo, is the Spurs fans behind really appreciating what just happened.
You're lucky you've caught them. You could have had the other ones that were doing all sorts.
Well, I mean, that game, I mean, 1-0 down, 10 minutes left. What was the driver that I mean, we don't want to sort of rub salt into the wound, but we've seen a lot of classics against Spurs over the last couple of years where we've come up on top, and it's like
Gareth Bale
yeah,
when we were playing.
yeah,
Just suddenly popped up with a worldie out of nowhere. Outrageous.
yeah. What other questions have we got for you? Have I got any more questions? I'm trying to scroll through quickly. See, that's the problem when you try to do images and questions. Well, one more. Here we go from Mandy. Did any fans give you stick? Oh, see, that's the bit I didn't want to ask you about. Did any fans
I've
give
got
you?
no problem with that.
Did any fans give you a bit of stick from being at Millwall when you joined West Ham? But you weren't at Millwall for that long, were you?
No, see, that's why. Well,
Yeah.
no, I'll tell you the full story. I was at Millwall for about 6 years as a youngster, but I got released. They got rid of me because they said I wasn't good enough. So,
Wow.
So,
they know an awful lot about
so,
football,
yeah.
don't they, down there?
So there we are. So that means nothing to me. That so.
Matt, honestly, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I am going to ask you that $1 million question before you go.
Okay.
And who's going to win tomorrow? Who've got your money on?
I mean, look, there's no way on earth that you could sit here and say that West Ham aren't favourites. They're on such a good run. Yeah, they're on such a good run. And it's only going to be more positive if you look at it and they're saying that Jimenez might not play, and that makes a huge impact on the Wolves team. So with all of that, I would say that I reckon that it will be probably a 2-1 West Ham win.
We'll take that, I think.
And that's not me sitting on the fence, unfortunately.
Jarvo, honestly, mate, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and hopefully, if you fancy it, because I do talk a lot, and you know what the irony is, it's Matt that usually talks an awful lot, and I don't normally do the previews. It's another boring idiot called Anton who does it, but he's looking after his baby tonight. But it's been an absolute pleasure. If you want to come on again, we'd love to have you back on the show at any time.
Perfect. Cool.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you very much.
And have a good evening.
See you later.
Cheers, mate. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Well, that's it, people. Now we're going to do this, aren't we? Because we're almost finished with the show, but we've got to talk about... What a great guest, eh? Lovely bloke.
Amazing.
I'm sorry, mate. I took over that. I couldn't help myself.
Mate, I was quite sitting you there rolling off questions. I was like, yeah, I'll sit here and just bask and enjoy it. Look, meeting one of the guys you watched play as a kid. Right?
Yeah. Well, as a kid? Well, you were a kid.
I was 20, so still call that kid.
I think I must have been about 40 at the time, but there you go.
still, you still physically watched him and top
Yeah,
bloke as
it's
well.
yeah, brilliant, lovely bloke, and we're really pleased to have had him on. So let's get on to we talked an awful lot about Wolves. We've talked a little bit about West Ham. We've had Moyes. He did his press conference earlier today, I believe, and let's see what he had to say, shall we? Well, the first thing, Matt, is the thing that we kind of all feared, and we knew in the back of our minds, didn't we, that it wasn't going to be good news. And he's confirmed it today that Oggie's out for the rest of the season. What's your thoughts?
The longer the club went on and didn't say anything, I was like, yeah, he's done. And then you heard all the rumours like, oh yeah, even if it's over, they've said they're going to give him a new contract. It's like, why would they say that if they didn't know it was going on? Obviously, Moyes has left it as long as possible to say it, but you know what? There's no denying the fact that it's a big miss.
Yeah,
he has been our best defender for about two and a half years.
Yeah.
Like consistently. I think he's had about 1 or 2 bad games in 2.5 years. He's literally been like, even this season, he had that one bad game against Bournemouth, but apart from that, his level's been. We've got players to come in for him, but still, like it's a massive miss, isn't it? Like it's going to be.
This is the thing I'm going to ask you now. Everybody's speculating about, well, he's certainly going to go into the transfer market. He's then definitely going to buy a centre back, etc. Let's not forget we've got 2 centre backs already, who, for one reason or another, have had good games, have had not so good games. There's been Dawson was one of our standouts last season, and many would say that come the end of the season, he started to make a few errors. And then we've got Diop as well, and a lot of people are talking about, well, we want to see Diop maybe be given a chance alongside Zuma. We ain't played Bournemouth, Matt.
Yes, I did. I didn't realise I said that. You didn't correct me. Yeah, I did mean Brentford.
Yeah. Oh, right. So, I mean, is he going to? And then he's spoken an awful lot, many times about the young pretender, Jamal Baptiste, and he said well before Oggy got injured, I want this lad to be in and around the West Ham first team as much as I possibly can. Is this now? I've said it a few times, but I don't know if you agree or not. Is this now his opportunity to give Baptiste an opportunity to demonstrate what he's capable of? Not saying that Baptiste will start any games, absolutely not. But as that 4th centre back in the squad, do you think maybe Baptiste has now got 6 or 7 weeks to show what he can do in training? I suggested if we get the point that we need against Vienna next week, and we'll talk about Vienna in a minute, if we get the point we need, that means he can put out, a bunch of youngsters in the final game against our group. It won't mean anything because we only need a point to win the league, to win the group. What does he do? What's your conviction? Do you think he is going to go in and get another centre back in the market, or do you think he's going to see how things go?
A younger one, possibly, because neither Dawson or Bonner are exactly, they're both the wrong side of 30 realistically. But yeah, like you said, he's spoken about the kids before, and is it something stupid like 14 games? Is it 13 games we play in December?
We've got 9 games in December and 3 more this month.
Yeah, that's why I was one off. Between now and like New Year's Day, yeah, it's like 13 games. I think there's 10 league games in December or something stupid. Someone was reading out on Sky Sports earlier, like in general. So, plus you've got the couple of cup games. We've seen Moyes has rotated the team round in games, and he has had, he's for the most part he had his 2 centre back pairings.
Mm-hmm.
So could we potentially see one of them play at some point? Probably. Is that going to be the audition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there are a couple of games that where you might get to see if a youngster like Baptiste get 5 minutes here or there. You might. But
it depends on how ready they are and how ready Moyes thinks they are and how ready the new under-23s manager thinks they are.
Yeah.
Guys coming from Peterborough. He might say to Moyes, look, they're just not ready. He might go, look, because they're both like, I think they're only 18, 19. They're still young. They're not like they're 21, 22 sitting at under 23.
Yeah. Yeah.
He might say
Baptiste, I
they're
think
just not
it's
ready yet.
17, 18. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he might say they're not ready. So if they're not ready and we've got two of our four centre backs are both pushing 33, 34, Moyes might very well go, look, if there's I don't think you won't see a Zuma. You won't see a £25 million
No.
splash of cash. But if Moyes could get someone for 10 million or less as a centre back that fits into the mould that he wants, then we could bring someone in January. I don't think
Tarkowski?
he'll risk 3 centre backs the rest of the season. He always wants 4. So it will
Tarkowski?
very much depend on the reports and feedback he's getting on the progression of the kids.
I'll ask you for the third time. Tarkowski?
I don't think so. I
Oh,
don't.
you don't?
No, I don't think he will.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, I think he's got Newcastle written all over him.
Yes. Yes.
I don't mean that disrespect. By the way, I don't mean that
No, but I
disrespect
know what you
for
mean.
him.
Yeah.
I mean he's a reliable Premier League centre back who's in the last 6 months of his contract, and I've seen rumours like even this week that Burnley want 20 million for him.
Yeah,
Moyes
which
won't
is
pay
not going to
that.
happen. Yeah, not going to happen. Yeah.
Premier League owners that are worth more than the rest put together. Yeah. Do they need a centre back to sort their defence out? Yes. So I could see West Ham just getting blown out of the water because Newcastle go 20 million. There you go.
We'll pay it. Pete
And give
Gads
him stupid
reckons.
wages, £100 a week.
Yeah. Pete Gads reckons I don't think Moyes will get a centre back. Dawson and Diop were. I don't think Moyes will get a centre back. Dawson and Diop were a bit shaky, but they look good in the cup games, and Zuma will give them that Oggy security. So, but you're saying, you're saying the other one. You think we'll get someone in as cover, 29, 30, 31-year-old, something like that, for a 10 mil or something like that.
Well, there's players out there. I mean, I don't know anything about him, but I see they're linked with some guy from the Bundesliga today.
Oh, that's the player, the centre back that we mentioned before, Jonathan Tah, who was on West Ham's radar about 2 years ago. It's really interesting. Whenever the transfer market's about to loom, all the old stories come back, and that's why I kind of take them all with a pinch of salt. But Jonathan Tah, he's a German he's a German international, and he's very good.
And
so
is it the guy at Marseille?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean now it's no longer Coletta Carr; it's his partner. I can't remember the guy's name. There's, so we've talked about Coletta Carr for about 3 years.
Kamara?
Damara, something like that. Yeah.
Again, he's one that's got 6 months left on his contract. So if West Ham went to France, it is 10 mil for a guy 6 months on his contract.
They might take it.
Yeah.
And Dab says my problem with Baptiste is he's quite small, mate. He's not. He's actually a lot bigger than you think he is. He's actually quite tall. He's slim. He's a bit like a Diop sort of frame.
Maybe that's what it means. He's bulking out.
Yeah. Yeah. And Howard says this is the right time to give Baptiste a chance. If he doesn't step up, then Newman will have something lined up for January. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he's got 6-7 weeks to prove himself
he's there
before Moyes makes that decision. Yeah. And Steve says we definitely need players in January if we could really push us to stay in the top 4. If we don't, what with Ben Rama away for the African Nations Cup, not buying, we will be a big mistake.
That's what I can see the Lingard one happening just purely because of that.
Yeah,
because you only got to fight to get him back in. He would just walk in. He would just walk straight back in.
But I've questioned whether Man U will sell him to us. Because they will now say when they loaned him to us this time last year, they went, West Ham, they might just finish in the top 6, but hey, but now Man United are chasing our tails. So
I don't think they're wanting to see him go for nothing. They've lost too many players in recent years that have gone for literally nothing.
Yeah,
I think they'll take 10 million for him. I think even if it goes above Solskjaer,
and even if it's West Ham. Even if it's West Ham.
Well, put it this way, I think the problem they've got is that he now gets to choose. That it's. I think was it rumoured we offered 18 million in the summer, and they were like, no, we want 30 million, and he went right. I'll just wait. It's now at the point where, again, the only 3 British teams I've seen linked with him is West Ham, Leicester, and Newcastle.
Someone mentioned the other day, why not a team like Everton, which is much closer to Manchester? He talked about staying, up there with his family, etc. Can you see something like it? Someone like Everton coming in for him?
Everton
They're
haven't
not.
got the
They're not
money.
a bad team.
They
Not a
haven't got
bad
the
team.
money. They're
Wolves?
skint.
What about Wolves?
Yeah, Wolves. You know what? Wolves could do it. The thing
Yeah.
is, it's now a year. I don't think it's even less than a year now till the World Cup starts.
Yeah.
The World Cup final is like a week before Christmas next year.
Yeah.
So he's going to be knocking on that door. Like I said, it's come out today. Like I've not signed a new contract. He's told them I want to go in January,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to go as early as possible because timing's all collided together. Probably kicked up by the fact that he didn't get picked for the internationals.
Yeah.
Scored
Yeah.
that goal against us. Played. I think I've read somewhere it's like 11 minutes of Premier League football
That's right.
since
He's
he scored
played
that
no
goal against us and
football.
won him a game.
Played no football. And David Moyes said today he's a Man United. When he was asked about him, he's a Man United player. I'm not going to talk about players at other clubs. We enjoyed having Jesse, and he made a great contribution to the team. But we've moved on. Jesse is a Man United player, and it's for them to decide where he goes, what he does. Now, I'm going to call Jurgen Klopp out again because I suggested that Jurgen Klopp tapped up Jared Bowen in public because he chose quite an awful lot of opportunities to talk about Bowen. We like Bowen. I like Bowen. He's a great player. He's come on great, etc., etc. And this is the way you do it. When a manager's asked about a player at another club, you say it's not for me to talk about them. And
Well, Moyes, was it Brendan Rodgers done the same thing today?
Right.
Because he keeps getting linked to the Man United job, and he was like, "I'm Leicester manager." Like,
not for me.
I mean, even though when Moyes has said, at the end he said, "Oh, it's up to them where he goes." He didn't say we're not interested.
No, I know. You choose your words carefully, but he didn't come out not like Klopp, who publicly tapped up Bowen. All right, let's move on. So he talked about the international break, and he said, "I think it's just the beginning it's taking a toll on the players. He's beginning to recognise that himself. The amount of games we're playing, the international boys. I might be wrong, but I think there's a lot of international players who are now toiling." We're thrilled to have European games, and I hope it becomes Wednesday and Saturday, Champions League and Premier League. We have more players away than we've had in the past. So it's new territory. England, for example, have a lot of players. But the good thing I did on my Monday show, I talked about the players that we had on international duty. And if we go through them very quickly, the only one that's really sort of played a lot has been Antonio. Declan, he was off. He took a sickie. Bowen wasn't picked, much to everyone's chagrin. Don't know why. Fornals didn't play the second game of the Spanish the Spanish games. Benrahma only came on as a second half substitute for Algeria in the last game. Souček didn't play the last game. Soufal did, but he's getting back to match fitness. So in a kind of Zuma played 90 minutes for France. So in a roundabout way, we've kind of gotten away with it.
Not been too bad. Yeah, we've kind of been, as long as touch wood, no one actually comes back injured. Yeah, like you said, Soufal needed the match fitness, so it's a boost for him. Playing one game in the 2 week spell is just like playing one game week anyway. So like Zuma played one game, great. Fornals went away and got the match fitness, done the training, didn't play, so he's just been kept up training. He said the only one really is Antonio.
And
he has his personal hamstring doctor. So
he's got his personal hamstring doctor and a private jet, courtesy of Sullivan, who flew him back on. He got him back on Wednesday.
That cost $100,000.
Who cares what it cost? He got him back on Wednesday.
I just laughed when they said it was like $100,000. I was like, don't forget, this is the guy that wouldn't spend $50,000 to fly us to Everton.
But can you imagine what it would have been like if Antonio had to fly economy class back from Jamaica and got back maybe last night or something like that? No, but in all seriousness, I mean, it's good. He's been so in a way. As much as Moyes is talking about the international news, he's proud of the fact that we've got West Ham players on international duty. We've gone away with it. Antonio's the only one that's played 2 games, and he might be a little bit tired, but we've kind of gotten away with it, haven't we?
Even when was their game? Tuesday?
And that was on Tuesday, yeah. And he was back in England by Wednesday, yeah.
So even he still had a couple of days off and should have trained today. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off and just come into training today. So
So he'd be all right, wouldn't he? He'll play.
Yeah, he'd be fine.
Moyes then goes on to team news. At the moment, everyone looks okay. We've obviously still assessing people who have returned because of the late return. Most of them had yesterday. It's not been that easy to get everyone back together, but I'm sure it's the same for every other club. It's good to have Mickey back. He really is important to us. So the quicker we get him back, the better. But yes, I'm pleased he got his goals, but even happier we got him back and ready to go. So we kind of just covered that, mate. It talks about team progress. If the season finished now, I'd be ecstatic. So would we, because we'd be in the Champions League, David. Drinking champagne because of how good the team has done. But now we have another 20. I mean, it's 20. We're only a third through the season, aren't we? You know, we forget that, don't we? That it's been so good.
I kept saying, I think I said this after the Liverpool game when we had like watching it, we done the review and stuff, and I was like, at what point? Because I'm still sitting here saying, yeah, great, we're on. It's what 10 games in. Is it 10 games or 11 games in?
11 games in, yeah.
We're on 23 points. I'm sitting there thinking, right, we need 17 more points. But at what point do we have to go? No, you know what? It's not that we're now over halfway to 40. It's like we're a third of the way to 60.
Yeah.
That's
Champions League,
where
mate,
that's
is
where
beckoning.
Moyes has moved the mentality
mindset.
of not just
Yeah.
of the whole club.
Yeah.
So he probably is happy, but he's probably thinking, you know what? We're about a third of the way through the season, and we're probably on par with what he wants.
I'd say we're
maybe a little bit in front.
I'd just say we're in front of on par, mate. Yeah, yeah.
Well, if you think, well, you probably need what did we finish on last season? 65 points,
Something like that, yeah.
and we finished 3 points off Champions League. So you need about 67 to 69 points. 11 games in, so we're just shy of a third of the way through the season, and we're on about a third of the way through.
We're on target.
Just about in front of the target, yeah.
He goes on to say, 20 or more games to go. We have to continue how we've been playing and keep the players pushing on, but I think we can play better. There is more to come, and the players who can step up again. We've got to keep pushing on, and I'm really pleased with the way the players are performing, really pleased with how we have done away from home, but every game is always a new one in this business, and you've got to try and get the next win. Then he went on about team spirit. Has always been really important. There are different ways of building it, but I think it comes to winning and having good players and people commitment and all that. I mean, we talked about the team spirit with Jarvo. It's an amazing team spirit, isn't it? At the moment, it's just unbelievable.
Well, it's, you know what, and I don't really want to say it, but I know there was calls last year to bring Arnautovic back when we were in January, and Moyes didn't want him, and you could probably see why Moyes didn't want him.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say.
It's, you know what, we do need. There's a difference between having someone that is nasty on the pitch, or like, you know, a bit of a bastard on the pitch, and having someone that's still good for the dressing room.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm not funny. Like back in the day, Roy Keane and Vieira on the pitch, but they'd have everyone, like, if one of the Man United, like Gary Neville, got smashed on the floor 2-footed by someone, Roy Keane would be over there in the ref's face and the player's face backing him up.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of angry player you need in your team.
And that's not an Arnautovic player, is it?
No, that's
he's
not.
Too egotistical.
Yeah. And, you know, and as I said, Moyes is now just signing players for players. He's signing players that play the way he wants, but buy into the mantra that he set.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want. He wants amazing players, but he wants, you know, I'm not being funny. There's not many egos in like Liverpool's team. Let's be honest. They all fall into what Moyes, what Klopp's doing. Whether you like Klopp or not, they fall into his tactics. They do still do the hard work. Yeah. They do the running up front.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, Salah doesn't go, I'm the best player in form in the world right now. I ain't doing the running. You know, Traore. As we said, we've spoken about the Wolves game today. Traore. Evidently, he's not in the team right now because his work ethic off the ball is shocking. But 18 months ago, he was an £80 million player. So the dressing room is there because Moyes has bought this team that everyone's bought into it. And everyone will run for each other, do the work for each other. And it's something we're not used to, because we're used to having a Dimitri Payet where everyone does the running for him, or an Arnautovic where I just do what I want. So give the credit to Moyes for it.
Yeah, agreed. And then Moyes was asked about being title challengers, and he said no, but I want to challenge for the top four. You know, we finished 2 points just outside last season, and that is a good target to give the players. I don't see any reason why we cannot take it. the top 4. So he's not, it's too much of a pressure, isn't it, to put on any team to suggest that we're title challengers. But to tell them, here's what you can achieve. You can achieve top 4. That's a good target. That in the mental state that the team are in is an achievable target, isn't it? Not saying
Of
to
course
them
it
go out and win the league,
Yeah, it's based on you go on based on what we finished last season. That's basically, because he always get a bit of leeway on points. He's basically saying, I want you to do as well this year as you did last year, and then we should be there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Like you said with Leicester, but even with Leicester, I don't think even their season, it was only until like you got down to single digits that everyone was like, oh wait a minute, they could actually win the league.
They could actually win it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
And
no, it would be stupid to go, oh, we're going to win the league.
Yeah.
But staying top 4 is an actual realistic target.
He talked about Wolves. He has done a really good job after Nuno, talking about the new manager Large or Large or whatever, who did an excellent job. Wolves has been one of the best up-and-coming sides over the last 3 or 4 years getting into Europe. After a difficult start with a new manager, they've done well. So it'd be a tough game against at Molineux. I think it's going to be one of our toughest challenges, isn't it, tomorrow?
It will. You know what? They obviously, we had Dan, the Wolves fan, and Matt Jarvis on. They both said the same thing, and it's entirely going to depend if Jimenez plays. Because I don't like last season, they were awful.
Yeah.
But you could see that they were just missing Jimenez. Like, much like the way, and we're starting to adapt now. But you remember last season when we lost Antonio, and it was like, well, we're knackered. Like, we haven't got a way of playing. We tried playing Hilaire and he got a couple of goals, but the whole gameplay of the team just didn't work. The whole formation, the tactics.
Still maintain we would have
Antonio holding up the ball, running the channels. And that is maybe not as quick, but that is almost like what Jimenez does for Wolves.
Yeah.
He is that physical player that puts the run in it.
I still maintain if we kept Hilaire, we would be playing Champions League football this season. But let's not go there. Let's not go there.
I'm talking about the style of play, and they were awful last year because they were trying to play the same style of play, but the player didn't match. They got William Jose on loan from, I can't remember, it is Villarreal, Valencia, Seville, something like that.
It wasn't.
He comes from the Spanish team, and yes, he was a big target man, but it was like it's like if we went from playing Antonio front to playing Peter Crouch,
or Onuachu of Genk.
Yeah, it just didn't have the mobility, and the managers come in and they're playing pretty much the same. But like I said, I think last international break, Jimenez travelled back about the same time.
Yeah, and
they played Aston Villa and he didn't play, and I think they lost. Was it that game? No, it might have been Southampton or something. They played the game after the international break without him, and they lost 2-0. And he got rolled over. They didn't play very well because he's so critical to the way they play.
Mm-hmm.
But the manager, I don't know much about him. I don't know much about the guy.
I don't know much about him either, to be honest, mate.
It looks like he's come in and just picked up where Nuno left off.
Moyes talked about Kretinsky. It's great. We've got a new coffee machine the other day.
I saw that.
I had a chance meeting with Daniel after the Liverpool game. He seems a very charming fella. You would be with all that money, and is a really good addition to the board, and I'm looking forward to working with him. It looks and feels like a good move for West Ham, and we're looking forward to him having an impact and moving forward. Do you read much into that? Do you read much into maybe Kretinsky getting out the checkbook and no pun intended, and buying a player or two?
I mean, Moyes did say, he's like, look, because they would try. I did see some of the press conference. There's this little clip on Twitter of that bit you brought up. And Moyes was like, look, if you're trying to get anything out of me, you got no chance. He goes, I literally spoke to the guy for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But then I also saw today that apparently he's already made his money back on what he paid for West Ham in dividends from the Royal Mail and Sainsbury's just this year. So I don't think the guy's stupid. There was an article in The Athletic last week. They interviewed a guy from Czech Republic who done a biography on him, and he said his company makes $2 billion profit a year, net profit, and since he has 700 million euros a year to do whatever he wants with his investments.
So really, his 150 million was pocket money.
Yeah. So yeah. I think he'll get money. Yeah, I don't think it'll be massive money. I don't think they're stupid. I don't think he is either. He sounds like a guy that's come from nothing and he knows how to spend his money and spend it wisely.
Well, let's hope the coffee machine he's bought is an expensive one, eh? And finally, on the manager, Moyes talked about Hoddle's comments about Declan. Glenn Hoddle's a really good judge of footballers, so if you're getting that from Hoddle, he won't be far off the mark. At the moment, he's as good as anybody in my mind. We're not talking too much about it. We can help it, but he's such a good talent, and the accolades are coming from all the pundits, and quite rightly so. Does everybody finally realise what an absolute mega talent Declan Rice is?
Well, did you see in part? I think it was in part of the interview today when he was talking about him, because he's been ill, hasn't he? He's apparently had this really bad illness, and that's why he didn't go into national duty.
Yeah.
But he had that illness in the Liverpool game.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but yeah.
And he pocketed Liverpool's midfield for 90 minutes while being severely ill. Right.
You know what it is, mate? You know, after every game, he's got to stop taking his bloody shirt off. That's what's giving him the cold. You know, he's got to start
wearing one of them, the tracking vestings. He's got to start wearing one of them or something underneath.
Exactly.
Got one of the old wife beaters on, so when he takes his shirt off at the end of the game, he's still got something on underneath.
I hope you didn't hear that. One of the wife beaters on. I didn't say that. Matt did. Right, let's get on to tomorrow because we've digressed. So we've talked about Wolves. I mean, you know, Dave was on and Jarvo were on, and talked about Wolves. In your mind, who's the player you fear? That was short. I didn't expect it to be that short.
I didn't hear the sound. Is the sound fixed? Was there any sound on that clip?
I heard it.
Okay, it's fine. No, because we went for about a month straight of Anton playing that clip and going, "Oh, I forgot to add the sound on. I'll do it next time.
I mean, thank God you've got a professional doing a preview now, mate. Honestly, I mean, you know, I had to go into every single video and image and update them because they were just like, what's this shit? And I had to just update it. But anyway, player you fear from their side.
It'll be one of two. If Jimenez plays, it will be Jimenez because the way he plays is just they click, and we've seen what he's like in the box, and the fact he got that goal before the international break will really have just probably sent his confidence sky high. So he's a real threat in the box. He's scored goals against us. If he doesn't play, and there's still not even a chance the guy would start, but for me, it's Adama Traore because you can train players to do a lot of things in football, but that amount of speed for that size and shape is just not trainable. The pure raw athleticism for how quick and powerful and direct he is, it's hard to defend against for anyone. And we've seen it against us before. I think if we go back to that Project Restart game, he come off the bench and within a minute, he picked the ball up and ran past 3 West Ham players and put a cross in for the far post to him and score.
But isn't it interesting what Dave was saying, and he was asked about it, about, you know, his attitude at the moment. There's not a lot of end product. He can create goals, but he hasn't actually been doing it on a regular basis, and he certainly doesn't score goals either.
The Project Restart, when everyone was talking about him, it was him and Jimenez. And he's not a David Beckham. Right, he's not gonna whip an inch perfect ball onto your head every single time. You know, he's not. But what he will do is he will beat a man, and he'll stand the ball up into an attacking area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he'd in some funny ways, if this was 7 years ago, he'd be almost like a perfect player for Andy Carroll because he'd get down to the byline and hang that ball up, whether it's on the penalty spot or the back post, and it's not in a guaranteed scoring area. But, you know, if you've got a Zuma or a Craig Dawson, if you had a Craig Dawson towering on that, you'd probably score goals. And that's what he was doing with Jimenez. He was hanging the ball up into an attacking area, and Jimenez was like, I know roughly where this ball's going to be. I'm going to bully my way through and I'm going to score. And then they went from having Jimenez up front to having that Willian Jose, who, I mean, we've had some donkeys up front in our years, but at least they were still able to move. He ran in cement every week. That Jose, he just didn't work out at all. I'm surprised that they didn't buy him. Or they had the guy that scored against us, Fabio Silva.
Silva, yeah.
He's not a big bloke, was he? From what I remember, he's not. He's not big, so he's not going to score it. So once you took that out of the equation, and he's not the intelligent player that's going to play the intelligent ball. He's just putting the balls into a box. You're chucking balls into a guy that's under 6 foot. He's not going to score headers, is he?
Yeah. Okay, so you think it'll be either Traore, but or Jimenez as the main
If he
threat.
starts, yeah.
What about for us? Who do they need to look out for? I mean, we kind of know our squad now, don't we? We more or less know who's going to start, which will be the next part of the show. Name your starting 11. Who have they got to look out for? I mean,
You ready for this one?
We just
I'm
go on.
going to throw your name out from left field here. Craig
Go on.
Dawson.
Go on, explain.
Craig Dawson.
Tell me why.
Because the set pieces.
Right.
No one attacks. No one in that West Ham team attacks a set piece like him.
Uh-huh.
And you know exactly what I'm talking about. He will literally kamikaze at every single ball that comes into that box.
Yep.
And we finally. I remember sitting here with me and Anne, I think probably about 6 weeks ago, and we were like, we haven't scored a single set piece this season. What's going on? And then Creswell found his delivery in the Europa League, the home game. Was it the Genk game? He got 2 assists.
Yes. Yeah.
And one of them was Dawson. And after that, the deliveries have been spot on. And like you saw the Liverpool game, how we terrorised them from set pieces.
Yeah.
So Ogbona's good, but Ogbonna makes clever runs and gets clever headers. Dawson, like, just if he's going back post or front post, Dawson just fully like kamikazes. It's very not pretty to watch. It's very clunky and gangly limbs everywhere. But he would just throw absolutely everything at a ball, and they could be up for a fight for it. And I don't know Connor Cody's really not proved much this season. He somehow got into that England team, and I don't think he's going to be anywhere near it since. I'm not sure who the other defenders are, but it could come to a game of set pieces, and I'd have some money on Dawson to score, to be honest.
Well, no, it's a pretty decent shout. Okay, so now we go into the lineup. Let's just share the screen, and let's see if we can get this up and running. Ain't going to be pretty, but hey, who cares? So I think we know, don't we, what the lineup is going to be. So people, I know we haven't been looking at your comments, and I do promise that we will go into your comments in a minute and catch up with them. But it's time to do this. So, mate, in goal.
It's Fabianski at the moment, isn't it? It's just
no brainer.
Fabianski's still number one.
And David Moyes' first dilemma. I'm going over to right back. I mean, do you go for the player?
I'm going to say Johnson.
Okay. I actually agree with you. I think, he's been involved in the last 7 or 8 games where we haven't lost. Is that correct?
Something like that. But yeah. I just think, as we said before, we sat here in last season, players will get an opportunity when an injury comes or someone's had been in very bad form for 3 or 4 games, right? And then he won't drop them until the same happens again. So at the moment, I think at least in the Premier League game, Johnson's now the starting right back. Until he has 3 or 4 bad games, or he has like a horror mistake, or he gets a red card, or is injured again. Or injured, shall I say, not again, injured. Until a ban or an injury comes along, or he has a shocking drop in form, he's now earned that spot for me.
No, I'm with you. Right, so before I put Zuma, who we know will start, who are you going for as his partner? Because that will determine which.
I'm going Diop, mate. Sorry, I'm going Dawson. I told you, Dawson. Set pieces.
Okay. All right.
And it's, you know what? And here's the funny thing. For me personally, if I was going everything aside, I probably would say Diop. But the fact that in the Liverpool game, it was Dawson that came on.
Yeah.
tells you that in Moyes' eye at the moment, there must be a chain of command. It must be what? Bonner and Zuma were like joint first, then it was Dawson, then it was Diop.
Yeah.
So if he's the one that come off the bench for the Liverpool game, and he played pretty well, to be honest, I'd assume it's still him. I assume he must be the, I say that, and then lo and behold, it'll probably be friggin', we'll see it tomorrow, it'll be Diop, but I think it's Dawson.
Left back.
That's Creswell.
Yeah.
Should have been sold 2.5 years ago because he was awful, but he's now Mr. Dependable.
Yeah. And why can't I
Find him, grab him.
No, I can grab him. I don't know why I can't. What have I done? Damn it. Have I got to go all the way out? I've got to go all the way out. Technical hitch. Share the screen. Go back in. It's gone. So let's bring it back up again. So why don't you talk amongst yourselves? I haven't given you a chance to talk tonight, mate. So you can make conversation for about 30 seconds.
Make conversation. Oh, there we go. Put me under pressure now.
Hang on.
I'll keep talking about it while we're going through. So yeah, I think Creswell. I don't think there's any. Did you see the article in the Daily Mail today?
No.
Jamie Carragher done a Jamie Redknapp done a sit-down interview with Creswell.
All right, yeah.
And he said to him, he's like, you must be one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. He's like, how have you not had more England caps? And Creswell just said, he was like, well, unfortunately, was it Luke Shaw, Ben Chilwell, and someone else he mentioned? And he's like, unfortunately, England are stacked at left backs. He goes, I'd like to think if one of them got injured that I'd be the next in line. So he's accepted he probably won't get an England call up, but he's sort of hoping there might be a slight outside chance of the World Cup.
Yeah. Well,
if someone picks up a knock.
It's great because people were calling for his head a few seasons ago. They said he wasn't good enough for West Ham.
Yeah, I was probably one of them.
Right. Holding midfield. Is Declan back from his illness?
I mean, I don't see why not.
Are we putting him in?
It's weird because this is where the rumour mill and the pundits and the media are all split down the middle. Because you've got half of them are saying he's fit, he's back, and half of them are saying no, he's still ill, he's not playing. I'm gonna be positive and say he's had 2 weeks off. If he played ill when we played Liverpool, he'll play.
Right.
Especially having just had a break. Thomas
rested for the Czech Republic rested. Well, apparently he wasn't ripped.
He had one game off, didn't he?
Oh, that's Mark. Where's Thomas gone? There we go. Thomas in the middle. Now, before we go into the attacking midfield, Antonio, is he going to be rested or is he starting?
No, if he's fit, he starts.
Right. So Antonio's in.
Europe next week might be a different story, but in the league game, if he's fit, he starts.
Okay. Who are you going for your three attacking midfielders?
Well, at the moment, they pick themselves, don't they? Pretty much. And no one's really... He said, we've been quite lucky with the international break, so barring any random COVID appearances again, Bowen, Benny, Fornals.
In what positions? Bowen on the right.
Bowen on the right. Fornals left, Ben Rama in the middle.
Do you remember what happened against Liverpool, where in the second half, he put Fornals in the middle and Benny on the left? You think he might be tempted to do that again or stick with... I
think, you know what? I think with them two, it's Moyes can chop and change it as he wants. I think they've both proven they can both play in the middle and on the wing. It's just, I think we were getting sort of overrun in the first half against Liverpool through the middle. They were getting too much time on the ball.
Yeah.
So then he moved Fornals into the middle because he wanted the extra legwork and extra grit in the middle. And he wanted Ben Rama out on the wing to exploit Trent. But I think this is the way he'll start the game. And then if he sees a way to exploit it or change it, then he'll change as he sees fit.
And we've got to wish Pablo many congratulations on the arrival of the new EastEnder. Is that a baby girl or baby boy he's had? I don't know.
Boy.
It's a baby boy, future West Ham player. So congratulations to Pablo. Sorry?
He's named him Martin.
He's named him Martin.
Yep.
Martin Fornals.
Yep.
Oh, well done, Pablo. Well done, Pablo. Right. Let's go into the chat and before we do predictions, because there's so many comments. So what we're going to do, I'm going to scroll up as far up as I can go and get you guys involved, because you've been really patient, and I do appreciate it. So let's start with the most important one. Clive says, hit the like button. What about Zachariah? Zachariah from Frank or Sule? Sule? Do you know anything about either of them?
Oh, Sule's a German. Zachariah, I think, plays in France, but I'm not going to try and blag this and make myself look like an idiot. I've got no idea.
Okay, neither
Sule
do
was
I.
a random one I saw against Day. I think he's in the Bundesliga as well.
Right. Kimbo wants 4 new signings in January. It ain't happening. For me, Lingard is key and cover for Creswell and a striker on loan. What do you think of that? I think if we get 2 players, that's probably about as much as we're going to get, and one of them will be Lingard.
It depends, doesn't it? Because is it your mate Sean said that? Is it your mate Sean that said we're going to get? It's not as much as people think it's going to be, but it's more than we've ever spent in the January window before.
Oh, really?
I don't understand how that works in the size.
Well, we spend nothing in the January window, so even if we spend a £5, that means we've spent more.
Well, technically, we brought in was it last? No, it weren't last year, but we brought in Souček and Bowen in one window, didn't we?
We bought Bowen for 19 mil,
but we paid like 5 million.
And we paid 4 million for Souček, yeah.
So that's still about 25 mil.
And we got Lingard in on loan for 5 mil, I think it was, or 3 mil last year. So basically, our target is spending more than
about 30 mil, maybe.
That sounds to me like a centre back and a striker on loan.
Well,
no,
you get
actually,
for 10 mil, you get Lingard for 10 mil. You know what? You could get 4 players in for that. Because let's not forget, one of the players that's apparently rumoured to be coming on loan is Holsek, if that's how you pronounce his name.
Klosik.
On a loan to buy.
Sparta Prague.
Which would be, that would be the easiest deal in the history of deals to get done.
Yeah.
Because the guy owns both clubs. How can you mess up that deal? He sits at one side of the table. I want to say he walks around the other side of the table.
I was just about to do something similar there. He'd be knocking on the door. Kretinsky would be knocking on the door. Kretinsky will open the door and say, "Can I help you?" And Kretinsky will say, "I want to borrow one of your players." And Kretinsky will say, "Which one do you want?" Klosik. I'll tell you what. No, I won't give you him. You know,
only Sullivan could manage to mess that up. You know, it's apparently, I think this might have been coming from the Athletic as well, that West Ham are looking at a loan to buy in the same deal they done with Souček, which Souček one was a loan to buy, but as long as we didn't get relegated, we had to buy it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, so if that's a loan to buy, and you pay we think we paid 4 million, and then it was like 15 million in the summer. So if you only
he's an exciting young player. He's an exciting young player. I won't deny. And maybe, I mean, I did the show on Monday, and I said that if there's a player that might be patient enough, Holejsik.
What can I say? I'm not
Holejsik.
I'm not from Czech Republic. My pronunciation is not great.
If there's a player that would be willing to bide his time, it would be a young player like Klosik. But because Moises, apparently we made approaches to 6 or 7 strikers, and none of the deals went through. And one of the rumours is because people don't want to play second fiddle to Antonio, whereas someone like Klosik could.
Well, as I still said, I'd still be all over Belotti if it was me. He's on the bench at Torino. He's got he's scored 150 something goals in 300 games.
I know, but he's not going to come
at Torino, and he's got that sort of. We was talking about earlier about not the Arnautovic mentality, but the angry on the pitch defending the team. Yeah. He's got that mentality.
Yeah.
If you could get I'm not going to pronounce his name again. I'm just going to check myself up.
Put the L before the O. Klosik.
Yeah,
put the L before the O.
If you can get him on loan, I'd still see if you can get Belotti. Because you probably get him for about 10 million. I'd get them both in.
Oh. Steve, Lingard would not go to Newcastle. He will not get into the England squad playing in a relegation battle. We agree.
No,
he won't go to
yes
Newcastle,
and no. He wouldn't go to Newcastle. I don't think he would. I think there'd have to be a very awful set of circumstances for Newcastle for him to get there. I don't think the relegation battle would matter as much if he's scoring goals.
I think it would matter. If he went down, I mean,
Yeah,
no.
but if he went to Newcastle and he's putting up like the formula, say he was playing for us, like he played for Newcastle, and he's banged in 9 goals and 4 assists in like 12 games. Southgate likes him. Southgate would still take him. However, I don't think he'll go to Newcastle.
No, I don't think he will.
Because they look genuinely awful, like they do. And they're going to need more than Jesse Lingard and the centre back at Burnley to save them. They're going to need more than that. And Lingard ain't going to. Lingard's only going to sign for Newcastle if he says you paid Man United 10 million for him, but if you get relegated in the summer, I want a £10 million release clause to let me go again. That's the only way I'd see Lingard going there. And they'd have to chuck like 150 grand a week at it.
Yeah.
Come here for 6 months. If we get relegated, we'll let you go for the same amount we paid for you. Right.
And then we'll get him for. And then, anyway. Steve Irons, Baptiste I thought he was small as well until Stoll corrected me. I better be right. He's a tall lad. Anthos. Lingard made a mistake staying at Man U. We know that. Stuart, hello. Oh, hello there. Just woken up. Stuart, my opinion on 3 new Premier League managers at clubs this weekend. Eddie Howe, Dean Smith, won't work. Gerrard, okay for Villa. Let's talk about that another time because we've already done 2 hours on this show. It's meant to be a preview. Peter, a good thing for our squad and improve it will be to recruit new players from the under-23s and would encourage young recruits to us. We've talked about the young players. Daniela, Lingard won't get into England playing in a relegation battle. WHU, Lingard has only had to get a flight from London City Airport. It could be in Manchester within 2 hours to visit his family.
No,
yeah, he talks about
it's about 45 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah. Frank, Eddie Howe got the Chinese flu sitting out his first game.
Yeah, I did see that.
Did he?
Yeah.
Steve, for all we know behind the scenes, Lingard deal might already have been done. Probably being done. Paul McDonough, David, mate, you say the same thing every time you come on. But thank you for joining. Father Snowman on Twitter today, Lingard posted a pic of himself in a West Ham gear. Did he?
Oh,
or was it?
Yeah. So this is it. West Ham put a thing out. There was a last time we was at Wolves. So West Ham put a thing on like their Instagram, like last time we was at Wolves.
Right.
And it was obviously like Jesse Lingard scoring. And they put like the fire emojis below it or something. And then essentially, but it was a bad day for Man United and Lingard today because Man United, I don't know the timing correlations, but obviously they announced that as far as Lingard's concerned, the deal's collapsed. He's got no interest in signing. West Ham put this out on Instagram. He then put the picture up again. It's the one giving him like the I'm not even going to attempt it.
Oh,
the Jay Lings thing, yeah.
All that, yeah.
In the West Ham kit, the one he done from that.
Right.
And then he took that picture and put it on his own Instagram. He then commented some emoji on the West Ham account, and Declan Rice commented like the staring eyes on him. And the Man United fans have like gone into a meltdown.
Oh dear. Hornsbosler, Antonio said he changed his lifestyle and diet to protect his hamstrings. I'd love to know exactly what changes were made.
To be fair,
Mate, I don't know any diet that will improve your hamstrings.
Well, I did see a clip basically because Antonio is like what 31. He's north of 30 now, isn't he?
He's 31, 32. Yeah, coming up to.
And
32.
like we spoke to Matt Jarvis earlier. You said about what was his diet like, and he went, well, I was one of the ones that ate really healthy, but on the Saturday night, I'd have like a Chinese because I've burnt calories.
Antonio looks like he has a Chinese just before the game.
The way Antonio was speaking, while I'm not giving any actual details, basically it sounds like, like you get the people when you're younger and they have a stupidly high metabolism.
Yeah.
And you've got that guy that's like as thin as a rake, but he's eating absolutely bucket loads. It sounded like Antonio was like that when he was younger, which is why he was like built like a house. But that's where all the hamstrings started coming from because he was just eating crap.
I wish that was the same for me. All that's happened to me, I was a thin stick as well, and now everything's gone to the fucking stomach. Fuck's sake.
And then I think eventually someone's went, why don't you just start eating properly? Like eat your vegetables and your chicken and stop eating pizzas and takeaway burgers and stuff. And basically that sounds the way Antonio was saying it. And he was like, I've entirely changed my diet. He goes, I don't even feel my hamstrings anymore.
Oh, let's hope it continues for the whole season, eh? Steve, I don't read into that players are tired rubbish. Let them do an 8-hour shift 5 days a week or even 7 days a week like some people do and get paid enough. Calm down, mate.
Oh, you know what, though? There is a thing like...
Steve, I get you.
It is different. Like, I tell you what, say back to Steve, go and do a 2-hour workout in the gym, 7 days a week and then see how your legs feel. That's what they're doing. If you look at like Souček's running numbers, he runs 15 kilometers a game, and he's doing that essentially. If you listen to everyone else, he's doing that every day in training.
And there you go. Search for Mikel Antonio men's health on YouTube. Jordan, if Wolves are actually going to play with 3 at the back, that's great for us. We'll leave them vulnerable to counter-attacks. Do you agree to that?
It suits them better to play 3 at the back. Well, it's not 3 at the back, is it? It's like 5 at the back. Because they play with 3 centre. They play like a 5-4-1. But it's 3 centre backs, two wing backs, like when Moyes first came in. 2 holding midfielders, and then you've got the 2 inside forwards off the striker. But the players are more settled playing the 3 at the back. It might open up to us because we might be able to try and go 3-on-3. You know,
that would suit us. 3-on-3 would definitely suit us.
Yeah,
the cat's getting in the way. Sorry about that.
It suits them more as well because when they played the 4 at the back last season, when Nuno was trying to change it, they were awful. Like they didn't know what they were doing. Like they were so used to playing the 3, they couldn't play the 4. So
wants to know. I think if they do play through at the back, and I can't see it because I think you're right.
Suit us, it also suit them. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like.
Anil wants to know where does Vlasic fit in, or does he have to wait until Benrahma is off to the AFCON?
He's at the moment he's one of the cup players.
Yeah,
it's just unfortunate that when we had the cup game, we all thought he was going to start in the Europa League game, or was it the Man City game? No, it was the Man City game. We all thought he was going to start, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Yarmolenko and Vlasic." Was it Yarmolenko and Vlasic both got COVID just after Crowd had it?
I can't remember.
Neither of them played, did they? I think neither of them played, did they? They both
was it COVID that they got? I thought they were injured.
No? Well, they miraculously both come back with knocks that kept them out for 2 weeks. So I just put 2 and 2 together.
What else have we got here? I'm trying to sort of scroll through as much as I can. Hans Wasler. Other fans don't see Rice because there's no flair about him. They think they're going to see Gaza. It's a good point, that, isn't it?
It's the FIFA generation.
Yeah.
People started noticing, and it's exactly that. Funnily enough, people started noticing this season because he's scoring goals.
Yeah.
Or he's a goal scoring box midfielder. Like, he's just developing his game. But yeah, people will notice it now. It's FIFA generation. He's doing, like you said about the mentality of, everything's got to be now. There's no time to wait anymore for a manager to. But everyone wants it now. Everyone wants flashy. And everyone wants goals. You'll make Nigel goal. Everyone loves goals.
Not scoring them. Apparently, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Trev, I like Traore. He's 25, but in my opinion, still has not the finished article. He's not perfected crossing or finishing or consistency. If he gets that in his locker, he'd be a worldie. So hang on a minute, mate. No perfection in crossing, no perfection in finishing, and no perfection in consistency. But if he gets all of that right, he'll be all right.
Well, if he got any of them
I'm
right,
joking with you, Trev.
Yeah.
That
is what it is. And if
I actually don't like him. I actually don't like him. I don't think much of him.
Once upon a time, I would have said he could have been Antonio, but they're not the same player. Like Antonio at the moment has developed his game that he can do his back to goal. He can hold the ball up. He has, when he wants, he's got decent control. He's got quite neat feet. He doesn't have to be. The only time Traore is like effective at all was when he's squared up against the fullback, and he can knock it past him and run. And that was Antonio 6 years ago. When he first came to us, he'd either knock it past the fullback and run to put a cross in, or he was coming on the far post from everyone else jumping over the fullback for a header. Could Antonio maybe if anyone if anyone could get him into a centre forward, it'd be Moyes.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be the same as signing a natural centre forward in January. Because natural centre forward would just work. Like if Newman gets a centre forward that matches all Moyes' criteria, he'd walk straight in. It'd probably take Moyes a year to get Traore anywhere near to what Antonio is now. Look how long it's taken him to mould Antonio into that centre forward.
I don't rate Traore. I don't understand the hype about him. Just because he's a big lump,
that's it.
And because he's similar to.
He's got pace and power, and he's quick and he's direct.
People are asking me to zoom in, but I don't know what the hell they're talking about because I can see myself all right.
Well, but is this when they were talking about the squad?
Oh, that. Oh, yeah. Fair enough. Now I know what they mean. Anyway, we've done that one. Good evening, Graham from Canada. I missed the start of the show. Can't go over it unless we bring Matty Jarvis back. As I was getting a massage. Is that what you call it these days? Isn't it great that we have a squad that offers so many alternatives? But of course, we are massive. I bet you were quite massive when you were getting a massage there, Graham.
We're getting there. We're still a few players short, I think.
Scott Dabs reckons we're going to get Klosik on loan and left back, Lingard and a centre back. Mate, you almost like what you said was like in agreement with them. I don't think that's happening. But let's move on. Any lineup predictions? I think we've done that, but I want to see what time you put that comment up. 10:46. That weren't long ago, so we basically said it's going to be the team that started in the last game.
Yeah, well,
you know,
after 15 minutes, Zuma went off. Oh, sorry, after 15 minutes, when Oggy went off. Yeah,
when Oggy went off. So we think basically, it's that. Let's get rid of your comment. We think it's going to be that. Well, no, sorry, it's not going to be that because Ogbonna's not playing. But apart from Ogbonna, that's it.
It'll be Dawson will walk in. Yeah,
Dawson will walk into that. So I had a look at last year when we played them last time. That was the team last time when we beat them 3-2. No, it was the first game that Declan was off for 6 games.
When he had his injury, yeah.
When he got his injury. So
and
look out who was out on the left side.
Masuaku. You know what? I did wonder because I did see I saw the clip today, and it was the second goal, and it was when Lingard done a brilliant bit of skill right on the corner flag to keep the ball in, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, Masuaku come flying in to cut it back for 4 hours. I remember watching that highlight earlier, and I was thinking, how did Masuaku get into that? Was Creswell injured that game? No, he was actually playing him as attacking left winger.
He played him as a winger, yeah.
Fair enough.
Oscar, Klosik is a real baller. Thunderous shot with either foot and fast, tricky with an eye for a pass, a cheeky pass. Steve, so many transfer rumours. Let's just wait till a player signs on the dotted line. You know what, Steve?
I've started.
Busy.
Great.
Sorry.
Keeps you busy.
Yeah, well, I did swear that I wouldn't do any transfer stories, and then I did it in my show the other day. Mark, if Lingard does sign, he won't get back into West Ham's starting lineup. Steve, Belotti is the man. Let them compete and bring out the best in each other. Mark, wait, he will when Benrahma goes to the African. We talked about that. Mandy, can you imagine our strong squad would be? How strong our squad would be if we got Jesse and that striker on loan and add Kral and Vlasic. We are absolutely humongously massive. A bit like Graham was after he had his massage.
We do only need a couple of players.
And
now
I think we do. I think we do. Left back cover, absolutely, and another goal scorer, and then we're done. There you go. 5'11". That's not too bad, is it, for a centre back?
It's a bit short for a centre back.
Bit short. Okay, he'll end up in midfield when Declan goes to Chelsea. Trev, I take Holsick all day long. The kid has big talent. Only 19. I can see him thriving. Steve, told you all the other night. Stell used to work in a chip shop in Oxlow Lane, Dagenham. Right. Jay Woods, will Lingard cost 10 million or could we get him cheaper? It'll be about 10 mil, I reckon, if he comes, yeah?
They're not going to let him go for nothing. They'll still try and negotiate something for him.
Absolutely. Pat, diet can improve your hamstrings. Carrots are a detriment to your muscles. He has given them up. So there you go, mate. He hasn't given up the pizzas. He's just given up eating carrots. I'm trying to get through this because this is the longest ever. Now you know why Anton wants to do them because they don't go on this long. But then people don't have as much fun on doing a preview. Anton does 15 minutes and thinks he's giving you all a show. Frank, Antonio on the old rice and pea and jerk chicken, Jamaican diet. Graham, that cat has been put out more times than Fred Flintstones. I want to know more about your massage, mate, so long as the missus ain't listening. Horns Wassler, the amount of cats you have passed over, are you running a cattery? If the missus had her way, we fucking well would. Steve, Frank, that is one of my favourite. Yeah, jerk chicken. Megan, I actually think the reason other fans are noticing Rice as well is because the pundits are, and they are shouting out his praises. That's a good shout from Megan. It's a good point, that. Would Traore fit in with the dressing room? He probably wouldn't be able to get into the dressing room, the size of him. I don't think he would. English Yardy. Antonio, pre-match meal is Aki and saltfish and a dumpling. Antonio will bully their back line tomorrow. That's the other cat, by the way. See, they're both awake. They want to be
Got
fed.
the cattery going on.
So there you go. Frank, still don't step in the litter tray tonight after you've had your usual 14 pints. Scott, we really should go after. Mate, you keep talking about the same player every time you come on. Are you his agent? Style Larin from Besiktas.
Do you know what? I'm not sure though, because Turkish players don't always work out in the Premier League, and that's not just us, that's other teams as well. Who's the guy Everton bought? The centre forward. Big Sam bought him when he was at Everton. He paid about 30 million for him. He was absolutely useless. Oh, Tosic.
No, Tosic.
Yeah.
He's Burnley, isn't he? No? Oh, no. Anyway,
Something
Russ
like that.
PNG. I don't think there's enough baby oil in our dressing room for Traore. I don't know where your mind's going, mate.
Oh, he does it with his arms, doesn't he?
That's
his little cheek, isn't it? That's why he has like the stupidly short sleeves on his arms, because baby oils up his arms so players can't grab him, apparently.
Jordan, we're massive. It's a common problem in the UK that's estimated to affect around 1 in every 4 adults and around 1 in every 5 children aged between 10 and 11. Jordan, again, we are massive. The term obese describes a person who's overweight with a lot of body fat. Where are you all going? We're talking about massages, baby oil, body fat. I mean, what's
Friday
going
night
on
still. Who knows where this chat's going?
Here's a question, and look at his body, the MG1. Benrahma or Lingard? I think that's an unfair question.
That's a horrible question.
It is a horrible question. Can't answer it, can we? Benrahma's been playing great this season. You can't drop him. You know, Jarvis said the same thing. He's been playing fantastic. James, Traore is the closest thing I think I've seen to Antonio. It's just that he has yet to remove his shoe and follow the teachings of the Moisés. Let's get down, because what we're going to do that now with one more comment. Hornswasler still's got Batman ears over his head. I don't know, what have I missed now? Still that wolf badge.
Oh, it's because of, if you look on the screen.
Let's get on to the final part. Oh, by the way, we've got to do this. Go on to Manscaped, get 20% off, free shipping, blah, blah, blah. Listen, go and get your balls shaved, especially if you put baby oil on them like Graham does while he's having a massage. Especially going for a massage and all that. And go on to Manscaped, buy all the stuff that you need to keep your balls all nice and smooth. Just type in West Ham Network as on the promo code and you'll get 20% off. There you go. Done my bit. Let's go on and do this. Okay, mate. Everyone, tell us what you believe the score's going to be tomorrow. We'll start with you, Matt. Go for it.
You know what? I'm actually quite confident. I'm going to go 3-1.
Goal scorers?
Antonio, probably do a goal. Fornals and Dawson.
Fornals, Dawson, Antonio. Right. Well, I'll be going there tomorrow. And
which would you say is nice for once? It's a 3 o'clock kickoff.
3 o'clock kickoff.
I was in the middle of the week. I was thinking, we got Wolves Sunday afternoon at some point.
Yeah.
And I saw yesterday, it was like, no, we've actually got a Saturday. When was the last time we had a Saturday 3 o'clock game?
Not well since. I was going to say since the start of the season, but we didn't even have it then. I'm going to go for. I was going to say 3-1, but I'll give them a little bit of a chance. I'm gonna go for a 3-2. I'm gonna go for a 3-2, squeaky bum time 3-2. I reckon this man's gonna finally score for the right team tomorrow. I
Oh,
reckon.
he scored a great goal the other week. I don't know what you're talking about.
I reckon
Got a cracking header.
it was a cracking header, but in the wrong goal. I reckon Souček will score. I reckon Bowen will score, and I reckon Fornals will score. I think our midfielders will do the business tomorrow. I don't think Antonio will score. I think he's going to be subbed after an hour because he'll be too knackered.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
I know.
Where's the
There you go.
confidence?
What are people saying in the chat? Let's scroll up and go and look for Megan says 3-1. She's agreeing with you. Stuart agrees with me. 3-2 last season to us. 3-1 to last season was 3-2. 3-1 to us tomorrow. He's doing Steve. Stop drinking the baby oil, mate. You're not meant to do that. 20-0. Frank he's going for a 3-1. Hornswozzler's prediction is bedtime. Good night to you, mate. Stephen 3-1. Paul 3-1. Steve 3-1. MG just wants Benrahma. Frank says 20-0 as well. Graham, just like me, will be having it large. 3-1 as well. Bowen. Oh, sorry, you were naming the players you're going to score. Oh, he reckons Benrahma twice and Bowen. Russ PNG 3-1. It's a popular scoreline. John 3-1. David Anderson reckons it's going to be 2-0. Antonio and Bowen. Why David loves Ogbonna over Dawson? Because he's a better player. I mean, nothing more you can say than that. WHU is getting greedy. He wants 4-1. Howard 4-0. Dawson 2 for Benny and Johnson. Trev Tube reckons it's going to be 4-1. Oh, we're getting a bit. Are we all getting a bit confident?
We are, mate. It's
not good. Steve wants a 2-1. Trini thinks it's going to be a dull 2-0 to us. James reckons it's 2-0. Hammerhead wants a 4-2. And there you have it. Be honest, Matt. Be really honest, mate. Staying online, doing a 2-hour preview with me is much more of a laugh than a dull, boring half an hour with Anton. Be honest.
I enjoyed the show today. I'm not going to lie. I did enjoy it.
Of course you enjoyed it because I was on. Of course we had Matt Jarvis on as well. And we had Dave on as well from Talking Wolves. No, it's been a really good show. And thank you all for staying with us for 2 hours. 2 hours and 8 minutes. Fantastic. Thank you all very much. Are you doing the watch along with Russ tomorrow?
I assume so. No one's texted me, but yeah, I guess I'm around, so probably, yeah.
Matt's got a headache. There'll be a watch along tomorrow. I think it's been planned for 2 o'clock. So do tune into that, please, people, and watch us. If you haven't hit the like button, as you're going out of the chat, do hit the like button because that'd be fantastic for the channel. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you to our guests, for Dave from Talking Wolves. Thank you so much to Matt Jarvis. He'll probably going, Jesus, I'm glad they told me to go when they did. That was over an hour ago. But no, seriously, he was a great guest. Thank you to Matt Jarvis as well. Matt, thank you very much, mate. And we'll chat tomorrow.